Hello, High Rock. Welcome to our daily devotional. We're continuing with our walk through the book of Ecclesiastes. And just as a reminder, we're going to move to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday format. A lot of people really wanted to see us have one every day of the week. So we are actually going to be doing new devotionals Monday through Thursday through Ecclesiastes. And then on Friday, we're going to repeat one of our previous favorite devos. And so that'll be our flashback Friday. So today we are in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. And just as a reminder, chapter 3 ended with an encouragement that one of the best things in life is to enjoy your work. So today in chapter 4, we're going to look at 5 things that you can do to ensure that you will end up hating your work. So we're in chapter 4 verses 1 through 16, where we read the following. Again, I observed all the oppression that takes place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, with no one to comfort them. The oppressors have great power, and their victims are helpless. So I concluded that the dead are better off than the living. But most fortunate of all are those who are not yet born, for they have not seen all the evil that is done under the sun. Then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Fools fold their idle hands, leading them to ruin, and yet better to have one handful with quietness than 2 handfuls with hard work and chasing the wind. I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. It is better to be poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. Such a youth could rise from poverty and succeed. He might even become king, though he has been in prison. But then everyone rushes to the side of yet another youth who replaces him. Endless crowds stand around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So it is all meaningless, like chasing the wind. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, in this passage, I'm going to bring this up so we can take a look at some of these scriptures. Again, chapter 3 ended with this encouragement that one of the best things in life is to enjoy our work. And this chapter basically lists out 5 ways that we can ensure that we will end up not enjoying our work. You can think of this as sort of like 5 rungs, rotten rungs on a ladder to success, worldly success. And so verse 4 continues this theme. Actually, I remember thinking about this example when I was hiking this past summer and I was coming down from Mount Wiley. There are these really steep sections as they put these large wooden ladders that are almost like staircases practically. But as I was coming down, I realized that these ladders were somewhat rotten because some of the rungs or steps on the ladder were missing. And because I saw that, I was able to, adjust my pace, be more cautious. But even so, stepping on one of those rungs, at one point, I stepped right through it, shattered, it fell apart right underneath me. And because I was cautious, I didn't really hurt myself that bad. But even knowing that they were rotten didn't save me from my fall, although it did save me from really hurting myself. So I have that image in mind as I think about these rotten rungs on the worldly ladder of success. So what are these rungs? Well, first of all, verse 1, it says, some people work in such a way that they seek to oppress others. It says, I saw the tears of the oppressed with no one to comfort them. The oppressors have great power and their victims are helpless. People who climb over one another to get ahead make the world a place such that it would be perhaps even better not to be born. So that's the first rotten step on the ladder of success. The second one is how some people choose to work not out of a desire for personal satisfaction or even the satisfaction of others, but rather out of envy. Most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors, as it says right here. And it's not even a genuine desire for something good or something worthwhile. It's just to keep up with the Joneses. It's all for, in modern social media speak, it's all for the clout, but it's all so empty and it doesn't satisfy us in the end. Now, that's the second rotten rung on this ladder. The third one we see in verse 8. And this is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or brother, yet works so hard and then asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much right now? This is all so meaningless. It's like a treadmill that goes nowhere. You're working only for yourself, but you're hurting yourself in the process. What a tremendous paradox and irony. What's the point? It reminds me of Christopher McCandless, that famous case of this guy who hiked out into the middle of this Alaskan wilderness and spent the winter in this abandoned bus. And as he was dying, as he realized he wasn't going to make it out of there, he finally discovered, sadly too late in many ways, he finally discovered that the real joy in life always comes from sharing, as he passed away alone. And the fourth rotten rung on this ladder of success builds upon this third idea, the same kind of general notion. But not only is there no real joy without companionship, it's also the case that you are weaker without someone else. The idea is, one person alone will freeze in the night, right? But two can keep each other warm, and a cord of three strands is not easily broken. That's a verse I sometimes hear in weddings, this idea that people think about maybe that there's an idea of God being present in that cord of three strands. Now, I don't think that's the intention here, that the third strand in that cord in marriage is God, although I think that's a perfectly good application of it. I think it's just the general application that in life, when we widen our web of relationships and we incorporate more people, that just produces greater strength in our lives. So that's another principle, is that real weakness, by choosing to be alone, we're choosing a path without resilience and a path of weakness. And finally, this fifth rung on the ladder is the futility of working for success and rising to the top. And then when you get to the top, to act like you know it all. Better to be a poor but wise youth than an old and foolish king who refuses all advice. That poor but wise youth might rise to become king himself. But that person might also, just like this king, rise to the place of king, thinks that he knows it all, refuse all advice, and then himself become displaced by an even younger person. Verse 16 says, endless crowds stand around him, but then another generation grows up and rejects him too. So those of you who are young, I think it's easy to think that you know better than older folks who just don't seem to understand how the world has changed. And in many ways, you may be right, and you may want to brush them aside. But remember that the attitude of judgment and dismissing the wisdom of others probably means that you will become that older person one day who gets brushed aside by the next generation. Far better for all of us if we learn to be wise by listening to the advice and perspective of others. So again, in the previous chapter, it said, I saw there's nothing better than to be happy, for people to be happy in their work. That is our lot in life. To find satisfaction in our work is a wonderful thing. But if you want to enjoy work as the gift from God that it is intended to be and can be, then we have to avoid these 5 rotten rungs on the ladder of worldly success. And I'll close by flipping those 5 don'ts into 5 do's. What would be the 5 proper, firm rungs on a ladder that aren't going to fall out underneath you like that ladder did on me on Mount Wiley? Well, first of all, pursue work that genuinely makes life better for others, not worse. In modern gamer speak, life is a co-op game. It is not a death match. Number 2, work for something that pleases you and God. rather than working out of envy of what others have. Number 3, work to bless others rather than just yourself, or the work that you do will lose its joy. Number 4, work together. You will be stronger, more resilient, and you will enjoy the journey far more. And finally, learn from those who are older than you. And when you are older, listen to the advice of others, including those who are young. In these ways, we may be able to truly enjoy work as the gift from God that it is or that it can be. Otherwise, we may find ourselves, as the writer of this book constantly repeats, that we are simply chasing the wind. Work can be such a blessing, but it can become a curse if we fail to follow some of these principles of wisdom. Why don't you join me in prayer? Our good and gracious God, we thank you for the gift of work. I know that sometimes work doesn't seem like a gift, and maybe sometimes when work doesn't seem like a gift, it's because of some of these things that we read in this chapter. Maybe it's ourselves who are pursuing work in the wrong way. We're engaging, stepping on, and stepping in these ways that are the rotten rungs on a ladder. Or maybe it's others in our workplaces who are doing this. Lord, I pray for all of us that we would have greater clarity of purpose, that we would remember that gift, that this work is that we have to do is a gift from you. And if we remember that and we use it as to be a blessing to others, that we may truly enjoy our work in a way that is impossible in any other way. Lord, for those who are not, do not have gainful work right now, do not have employment, I pray, Lord, that you would, if they're seeking employment, I pray that you would help them find that. And in the meantime, give them ways to find greater clarity about their purpose and their desires and what you would desire to do in their life. And Lord, for those who have perhaps retired from work, I thank you for the ways that you have used them in blessing others and helping to make this world a better place. But I also pray, Lord, that this idea of retirement would not be uh, something that we consider as far as our work goes. Instead, Lord, that in every stage of life, there is some kind of work that you have for us to do. It might not be paid work. It might not be a career, but there is something that you call us to do to work for the betterment of this world, that you desire to work in and through us to bless the world. And in that way, we can truly enjoy the work that you give us and the life that you give us. Lord, for all of us, I pray that you'd help us to discover the work that you intend to do through us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, everyone, thank you for joining with me today. I hope you are able to join us for the rest of the week. Again, Monday through Thursday will be devotionals through the book of Ecclesiastes, and Fridays will be our flashback Fridays. So I hope to see you again tomorrow. Go in peace.